Debunking of flat Earth theory. Now, the difficulty of this research was not actually to get the research, but it was to choose
Content over everything.
amongst the research the things that I actually need, because the proof, the disproval of flat Earth theory is so large and so the examples are so numerous. It simply took me more than one day, and I admit it, just to see all the information. It took me a few days, but I got it here. I kind of did some summarizing, because if I start giving all the examples, I will be here all day and night. And let's start by kind of just explaining what the flat Earth theorists usually think. Because I say usually, exactly because they don't all follow the same theory. Usually, from what I've researched, flat Earth theorists believe in universal acceleration. This is their theory that is against gravity. We believe in gravity, that we are being pulled by the center of the Earth, by the mass of the Earth, right? By the sheer mass, it's pulling us back. So if I jump up, gravity pulls me down, right? That's what science tells us. The flat Earth theorists usually believe in universal acceleration, which is the idea that the flat Earth, the disk that is the flat Earth, is in constant ascension. You heard me right. Constant ascension. 9.8 meters per second square, to be exact. That's the speed that they believe that the Earth is ascending into. And when I jump up, it's not that the Earth pulls me back down, it's that the Earth catches up with me. I know this is hard to listen to, but I would ask you guys to suspend your disbelief, as I suspended my disbelief when researching this stuff. To just hear them out, just hear what the flat Earth theorists have to say. They believe that Antarctica is an ice wall at the edges of the disk. So, oh, by the way, here we go, the instrument of the debunking of flat Earth theory. A cardboard pizza. Now, they believe that around, this is the Earth, right? This is the Earth, and on the edges of the Earth we have a huge ice wall, kind of like in Game of Thrones. They have the wall that separates them from the White Walkers. Maybe we have White Walkers on the other side. You can never be too sure. Joking. But we have a huge ice wall around the place, and the continents are spread out the middle. And their exact map is the map that NASA uses, if I'm not mistaken, a view of Earth from the top. Now, what else do they believe in? They believe in the Antarctic Treaty, which according to them was signed in 1961, and it basically says that it basically establishes a union between the different peoples of the world, different nations, that makes them unite and to defend the ice wall, so nobody can see it, nobody can come near it, nobody can perceive it. That all the nations in the world, including the ones that are at war with each other, have this treaty, and they're united by this treaty. Just suspend your disbelief for a little bit longer. Okay, this is, they believe in the firmament dome, which is a dome-like barrier at the sky that kind of protects us from the outside forces, that keeps our atmosphere in. They don't believe in the ozone, they don't believe in the atmosphere as scientists do. They believe in this dome, this impenetrable thing that prevents us from going outside and prevents anything from going in. Don't ask me what the dome is made of, because they have different explanations of that. And the last thing, the nail in the coffin of their ideology, is that many of them believe that forests are not real. They believe that trees are in reality tall bushes, that the real forests got exterminated long ago. Now that we have the slight grasp of the flat Earth theories, and this is the hard thing, because I'm telling you all this from my research of their channels, of their ideology, and many of them will tell me that I'm wrong, that that's not what flat Earth theorists actually believe in. And that is because of one of the problems in their ideology. It's because whenever you show them that one of their beliefs is wrong and stupid, and I won't say stupid, but it's irrational, let's call it, they will give you another explanation. They will jump from theory to theory, so you can't really grasp one flat Earth theory. There are many explanations to different things that they give you. There isn't one absolute explanation. And let's start with some history. How long ago did humans discover that the Earth wasn't flat? Well, we need to go back more than 2,000 years ago, more than 2,000 years ago, to a few Greek, philosophers and mathematicians and astronomers. One of them is Eratosthenes. He measured the shadows of tall towers in different cities. For example, in the town of Cyan in southern Egypt, and in the city of Alexandria. And he got different angles at the same time, at the same part of the year. He got different angles of them. He measured. There were wells in Cyan and in Alexandria, which he observed, and he noticed that at a specific part of the day, in one of the towns in Cyan, the sun would shine straight down the bottom of the well, and he would see the exact reflection. It was in no angle. The sun was exactly on top of that well at that moment. It was shining. The rays of sun were shining exactly down. Now, in Alexandria, at the same time, at the same day, no, maybe not the same day, but at the same time of the day, it was at a slight angle. It didn't matter if he measured it at the exact time and same day. The angle still existed. There was a very small angle which Eratosthenes used to calculate the circumference of the Earth, which is something really, really interesting. Yeah, he got the circumference right. Now, on any given date, at different cities, the sun is at different angles in the sky. This is the main thing that Eratosthenes discovered with his experiment. Now, we have others. We have plenty of other historical figures, like Aristarchus, for example. He noticed that from every different vantage point, every angle, the Earth's shadow on the moon is always a curved shadow. And as we know, the only object that can always, with no exception, project a curved shadow is a sphere. Now, flat Earth theorists do believe that the Earth is not a sphere, but as a circle, a flat circle. That is what they really believe in, and they think that the sun shines from underneath, and the shadow on the moon is the circular Earth. It's not the spherical Earth, but the circular Earth. And now, this is a completely preposterous ideal, because if the sun would shine exactly at this angle, indeed it would be round. The shadow would be an exact sphere. But the more the sun would move to the side to shine at a different angle, notice. Do you see what I mean? The more you shift, the more the sun shifts here, the shape of the sphere, the shape of the shadow will not be a perfect round shadow. It will become flatter and flatter and flatter. And we have different cycles. The moon has different kinds of shadows. Sometimes the moon is completely overshadowed. Sometimes we have a new moon. Sometimes we have a full moon. We have the angles, like the crescent moon, different kinds of crescent moons. And the angle is always of a perfect sphere. It doesn't vary. It doesn't vary in angle or in shape. So that means that's one of the proofs that debunks that the Earth is a flat shape. It's just a circle, a flat circle. Now, I won't delve into this too much. I think everybody already understood why this doesn't hold up in terms of the flat Earth theory. Let's go to another example. And this is honestly one of my favorite examples. No, before that, let's just talk about two more Greeks. about Pythagoras and about Anaxagoras. I probably butchered the name, but you got the message. And even Aristotle was accepting Earth to be round. Pythagoras discovered a curve in the line dividing light from shadow on its surface. The line is called the terminator. You know, the round line that defines the spherical shape of the Earth, as in the shadow of the Earth on the Moon, is called the terminator. Anaxagoras, by watching the lunar eclipse, the shadow covering the Moon must be the Earth. Sorry, the shadow covering the Moon must be the Earth. That is, shadow is curved, the Earth is round. Okay, seeing that the shadow of the Moon is always, again, what I said before, always curved at the exact same shape. The shape of the Earth must be round. It must be a sphere, because different angles, same shape. Even though sometimes it covers less of the Moon, sometimes more of the Moon, if you actually notice it, look at it really closely, with real attention, like if you measure it in a picture, for example, you will see that it's the exact same shape. Now, if the Earth was like this, the shape would vary, as I showed you before. And Aristotle, in 350 BC, 350, man, that's a long time ago. Some of the star constellations that are visible in Greece are hidden beyond the horizon in Egypt. Another proof that the Earth is not round. Now, they might tell you that it's an illusion, it's an optical illusion, but then again, they tell you to follow your own senses. So, they're choosing you to follow your own senses on some things, but they're telling you not to follow your own senses on other things, which is completely preposterous. You can't tell one thing here, and when it doesn't suit you, you tell people to do something else. Now, all right. Now, we have something else to talk about here. Let me say a quote from Albert Einstein. This is a quote that flat earthers use against him and against science. As far as the laws of mathematics refer to reality, they are not certain. And as far as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. This is what I have been discussing previously about the questioning of the relations of ideas. Maths is usually comparable to relations of ideas by David Hume. Like 1 + 1 = 2, and a triangle has 3 sides. But as I said before, the application of the theories, the application of the theories that we invent in maths, even though in maths, in theory, it's perfect, the application of them to the real world is flawed. We cannot apply them exactly to the real world, because the real world simply is not, cannot be perceived entirely. Now, we can perceive all the theories that we invent in maths, and even though we can't perceive them, maths is still changing. The rules are slightly changing with time. New equations are being invented, new things are being discovered in maths. So it's not an absolutely exact science. No. Let's go a little bit further, and let's delve into my favorite. Oh, hello there. Okay, soon. I'm just doing the flat Earth theory discussion. I don't know, darling. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay. Which one are you going to? Which one are you going to?
I'll message you.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, one of the biggest proofs against the flat Earth theory is the Coriolis effect, and it's one of my favorite examples. The Coriolis effect is how the rotation of a round Earth influences the winds and the movement of air. Because as we know, all the sky and all the atmosphere is moving with the rest of with the actual Earth that we walk in. It's moving with it. And why is it moving with it? Well, because of inertia. And flat Earth theorists give the stupidest examples in the world, honestly. They say that, a plane wouldn't be able to land properly if the Earth were moving, because it would have to adjust its angle always to the moving Earth. It's completely stupid, because the plane and the atmosphere is moving with the Earth. So you do not need to adjust to that kind of stuff. You do not need to adjust yourself to to a moving Earth. An easy example to prove inertia. When you are in a car and you jump out of a moving car by a considerable speed, don't do this at home, by the way. Just take me up on my word, or look at a video on YouTube. But if you really want to do it in a slow-moving car, and the effect is, even though it's less noticeable, it's still the same. If you jump out of the car, you will jump exactly outside, and you will roll a little bit to the same direction the car was going, because your being is being propelled by the inertia that it was moving by. Why is it that when you jump up in a very fast-moving train, you do not fall back? When a train is moving like this and you jump up, why is it that when you jump up, you remain at roughly the same spot that you were before, and you aren't behind? You don't jump up and you stay behind because of inertia, because the inside of the train is moving with the train, exactly because of inertia. You can look it up look up more into it, but it's a very simple thing to test. And I'm very surprised that this is given as an argument against the round Earth, and it's usually given by the flat Earth theorists. Now, let's go to the Coriolis effect. How does it work? Now, seeing that the Earth is a sphere and that all the regions of Earth take one spin around itself in 24 hours, how is it that it works? Because does it mean that the top of the Earth is going slower than the equator? And the answer to that is yes, it is going slower. Because it does a full spin around itself, which is a smaller spin, while the regions on the equator take a larger spin around itself at the same time, so it's faster. And the winds move at the same speed as all the parts of the Earth. So how do the winds in the equator relate with the winds at the poles? The answer to that is the Coriolis effect. They have friction between each other, and the winds of the equator, seeing that they move faster, when they diverge from the equator, they usually move. They move in this kind of movement. So, and the winds from the north, they move against them because they move slower. They stay behind, while the winds of the equator move faster than them. What does this make? When there is a low pressure point in the atmosphere, the winds of the north and the winds from the south make a hurricane or a cyclone. It is very easy to show this because all the hurricanes always rotate anti-clockwise, while all the cyclones always rotate clockwise, and all the cyclones are always in the South Pole, while the hurricanes are in the North Pole. And another thing, no hurricane or cyclone will come close to the equator line, will come closer than 5 degrees of latitude to the equator line. There are videos, there is proof by looking at the very hurricanes and at the cyclones. We have so much proof to see this, to see the Coriolis effect in real life. And yet they still deny it all the time. They deny it completely because they refuse to accept things that are the most likely to function. Now, personally for me, it was a little bit self-contradictory to say that they are wrong, because I myself accept that everything is possible, and all knowledge we have has a small, even the most certain knowledge we have has a small percentage of possibility of being wrong. And from that perspective, even the flat Earth theory has a percentage of possibility that it's right. But we cannot follow things that have such a low percentage of possibility, because we will live in a world of imagination. We will imagine ourselves to be ponies, to be, different beings than what we actually are. We need to see the world as in the most likely perspective. The likeliest things that are likely to happen, we need to follow that as knowledge. Because if we will not accumulate any knowledge whatsoever. We will live in a complete denial constantly, and that is what the flat earthers are doing. They're living in denial. They're following a system that does not function. They're trying to expand this ideology, this conspiracy theory, on the world, and it doesn't work. It does not have anything, it does not bring anything for them. It does not benefit them. Quite the contrary, it actually makes their life worse because everybody looks at them as if they were idiots. They are simply completely confused people that delve into the very improbable possibilities. And it shows a very big problem in our education system nowadays, because we are being taught how to think. No, not how to think. We're being taught what to think. We're not being taught how to think. We need to be taught certain ways of seeing the world and of criticizing the world and of making our own conclusions on the world without being indoctrinated into a certain point of view. We need to be able to come to the conclusion ourselves. Because if we are always indoctrinated, look, basically the problem with science nowadays is that it's poured into our heads instead of making us reason with the scientists, with our teachers, and to make them show the world in a different perspective, in a functional perspective, that the world is a mechanism and the things are connected with each other. We need to imagine things that way, and we need to be able to criticize things that way, because if we don't, things like these will get popular. And I have a personal pet theory that gravity proven false in 2 minutes. Oh no, it's proven false. Yeah, this is the stuff. This is the stuff that the flat Earth theorists believe, unfortunately. And I find it very sad that some actually intelligent people give themselves 93,000 views. Damn. It's very sad. It's very sad indeed that people actually delve into this kind of nonsense. And again, I suspended my disbelief as much as I could, but honestly, there is the limit to how much disbelief I can suspend. And this is just way too much. I heard some people, I've watched many videos about flat Earth lately, and I heard some people giving the argument that, why aren't the planets, the round planets, and the sun represented by scale? Well, because they're too fucking far away from each other. Because they are very, very, very far away. If we look at a perspective, the sun, like it's this big, the Earth would be practically invisible to the naked eye, and they would be at this distance. Maybe bigger. I'm just pulling random distances. But they would be very far away from each other. I have a few numbers here about the sizes of Earth and about the sizes of the Sun. Okay, so 139. No, wait. Yeah, 1,391,000 kilometers. That's the diameter of the sun. 12,742 kilometers. That's the diameter of Earth, which makes sometimes for some misconceptions, because the sun is inside the sun. We can fit 1,300,000 Earths inside the sun, roughly. And the sun weighs 333,000 times more than Earth. You can research these numbers by yourself, and if you really want to, you can delve into the research that came to these numbers. What do flat Earth theorists have to offer? All they have to offer is self-doubt and deceit, this kind of complete denial of reality and the preference of your own pet theories that have not been proven. It's not likely knowledge at all. It's very, very unlikely that there's any truth at all in it. Let me see if I have any. I would like to give some videos so you can watch for yourself and not just trust me, take me up on my word, because I didn't want to do this, honestly. I wanted to start with somebody else here, with some other group, not with the flat Earth theorists. But, if everybody just takes this as a joke and nobody debunks it, then some gullible people will actually accept it. And, there's a meme on the internet of a flat earther saying, "We have members across the globe." Now think about that quote. Think about that quote, and how can a flat earther say that they have followers of the flat earth theory across the globe? But somebody needs to actually debunk this at least a little bit, because it's actually an increasing number of flat earthers around the world. It's actually an increasing ideology, which is completely preposterous, honestly. It's scary. It's scary. How can ignorance take hold of minds of people? So there is James May witnesses the curvature of Earth. It's a video, so probably flat earthers will say that it was made in Hollywood, but you can see it just to check it out. The Flat Earth Conspiracy Debate. Yes, really. It's a video by Stephen Molyneux. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right. He's a clever guy, you know, he's a little bit full of himself sometimes, but he's a very intelligent man, and he has a very eye-opening discussion with a flat earther that lasts about 45 minutes. It's pretty long, I admit it, but it's very eye-opening, because every time he does a question to the flat earther, he either answers that he's not knowledgeable enough to answer, or he tries giving him a new, a new theory about it, a different theory, to compensate for the mistakes of the previous theory. 5 flat Earth arguments debunked. 100% flat Earth failure. Dr. Marble's ignorance abounds. The Flat Earth Conspiracy debunked. And these videos are honestly very good, because they, it's good to watch some videos on the flat earth, because while you're reading it or watching, just looking at some images, it's hard to imagine it's hard to think of the actual way that it works, that it functions. Now, when you see a video and you see how the earth rotates around the sun, how the earth rotates around itself, how the moon rotates around the earth, when you see all of that mechanism in play, it's far easier to see how it functions. And honestly, if you see, every time I look at the flat Earth theory example, like at the plate, at the Earth as a plate, and at the sun rotating, that's another stupid argument that they give. Some of them say that the sun rotates like this. By that, it illuminates one part of the world, while the other part is in the dark. Because if it rotated like this, all the world would have night at the same time. But how can the sun, a sphere, the flat earth accept sun to be a sphere, illuminate this part of the earth and leave this part in complete darkness? It's preposterous. It's completely preposterous. The sun as a sphere cannot illuminate this small part of the earth and not be visible at all from the other part. They say it's because how light works. Bullshit. Light doesn't work like that. It doesn't work at all. Easy experiments like watching a ship leave the horizon and start disappearing by its bottom, and leaving only the mast until it completely disappears under the horizon. Easy things, very easy things to notice. I kind of lost a little bit track of what I was saying. But yeah, they have two fallacies that they usually use. The common sense fallacy, which is when somebody asserts that human senses are infallible, and the personal incredulity fallacy, when somebody finds something hard to understand or is unaware of something, and therefore asserts presumes that it can't be true. And honestly, sometimes they just practice plain ignorance, just laziness and ignorance. If the sun truly is closer to the Earth than we think, than the astronomers and the scientists tell us, then when we see the sun on top of a specific spot, there would be a person that would be exactly under the sun at that point. But that doesn't happen. If there is a guy here, I'm watching the sun, and there is a person that for me looks like is exactly under the sun, the person over there will not be under the sun in reality. He will see the sun even further away. And I will enter an argument with him over who is lying. But now, the nail in the coffin, the last argument that really makes me lose my mind on the flat earth theory. It's the sheer notion that all the world, all the warring peoples, all the different nations with their different ideologies, with their different religions, their different, their different desires, all of them are just, they just decided to cooperate with each other. They just peace and love, man, peace and fucking love. They just decided to cooperate on this one thing, and not one of them has ever slipped during human history. And all of human history, all of its knowledge is a fake. Because of this, because they're, for some reason, they're denying that the Earth is in reality flat. It's just, it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening that there are actual people that believe in this. And I would, I know some people from Speaker's Corner who defend this. I won't say any names, but I would like them to come here today and to speak to me. Unfortunately, none of them came. I assume it's because I announced that I would debunk the flat Earth theory. And they, deep down, I think they realize that they can't simply argue against this stuff. They simply can't argue against it. Again, let's take just another look, just one last look. The sun, just imagine this. The sun is moving like this, and it illuminates only this part, while this part is in complete darkness and has no vision over the sun. Come on. And some of them think that the sun sometimes goes underneath, so all of Earth would be in the dark. Come on, guys, you need to listen. It's okay to admit that you're wrong. What is not okay is to keep forcing your stupid wrongness and your stupid opinions on others just because you are ashamed of admitting that you're wrong. I don't know what else to say about this. Let me see if I can find one last example just to finish this conversation, because I do not want to delve into this too much. I don't want to bore people too much with this conversation. I just want them to give them a taste of how reality actually works. And again, I do not believe in 100% certainty, but I believe in following what is the most likely to be followed. Truth is perception, and perception is the only truth. But if your perception is shit, you should leave it be. So, we need to teach people how to think and why they should think like that, why they should value science. Instead, teaching people what to think and how to regurgitate science. This is a quote by one of the YouTubers that I watched, and it's a very good quote because it shows exactly the flaws of our education nowadays, and the sheer indoctrination that we are going through in our world. It's very disheartening. But anyway, I think I've given enough arguments against flat Earth theory. I am more than certain there will be people in the comments saying that I didn't give any decent proof, and that they have proof that everything that I said is a complete lie. I'm getting paid by NASA. I am just a pawn in the game of the big boys, of the the ventriloquists of this world that are making us believe that we live in a sphere. But for the people who are actually able to think critically, for the people who are actually able to perceive the possibility that they might be at least slightly wrong, especially for the people who have that ability of self-criticism, that are flat earthers, I invite you and I plead you to think about what I'm telling you and to at least imagine how stupid would you look if you would keep following this dead ideal that should be buried long ago. And again, I have a pet theory that this is some kind of a social experiment, just to see how far away this ignorance and this anti-knowledge ideology can go. Just how far can they push this sheer indoctrination? Because, I don't know, but for me it looks like somebody has something to gain with this. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Content Over Everything for giving me my screen time, and this is the first episode of the Elimination series, the Flat Earth Theorists. And for the next, the next week is a little bit tricky because I'm not 100% certain that I will be able to come. I have some things that I need to take care of. But if I don't come next week, I will come the week after for certain. it's just the next week that I'm not entirely sure about it yet. I will try making my decision known if I will come or will not come. Again, because I have some things I have to do next Sunday. But if I can come next Sunday, and whatever will be the next time that I will come, get your bacon sandwiches ready, boys! Next time we are discussing the vegans, and we will be debunking veganism as an ideology on Speaker's Corner. Thank you very much for the screen time. See you later.
Content over everything. From your community.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Aiko, for the first time, I managed to back him into a corner. To the situation where he could not make an excuse to defend socialism at all. He just had to avoid the question.
Really?
Yeah, I showed him. I played a game with him. I told him, okay, imagine we're in a deserted island, and this camera over here is a tree. Nobody knows about this island. It doesn't belong to anybody. I have an axe. I come to the tree and I cut it. Is the cut tree my property? He said it depends.